football and business. Summer doesn't. I'm doing what's best for me. I couldn't focus.
What's up, guys? My name is Nyles Morgan, and we're here with the DA podcast. Today we have a special guest, someone you need to know, Ernest Lee. Ernest, tell us all about who you are and what you do and why you're so passionate about it.
Well, I am a doctor of chiropractic, and I believe I was actually born to do this. At the end of the day, I grew up in Nova Scotia, and I was not a great athlete like yourself. However, my father, being a, Asian father, wanted all three of his sons to be doctors. Yeah, you know how it goes. So it seems to be that it's almost like his own void, of course, whatever, just his father probably wanted to be that type of guy. But, my father ran away from home at 16 and was a drummer in a band and toured Scotland when he was 16.
Crazy.
Yeah. And then he graduated from aviation school in California. So he had a colorful life, but he was definitely an adventurer, being a young pilot, flying around. But yeah, so 70% of my family are U.S. citizens, right? And so everyone from my mother's side. And we do have no one in Alberta, actually. Yes, me. That's why I'm always looking for family and friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure. So passionate about it. You know what? I wrote my MCATs, got accepted to medical school. I went to University of Simon Fraser in BC, Vancouver, for my undergrad. But then I got into 5 car accidents over an 18-month period. I've never stepped foot in a chiropractic office. However, I had immense back pain, neck pain. I would always be in the back of the class rubbing these knots against the walls, and I'd had terrible headaches. So I got to really experience the full gamut of healthcare. So, physiotherapy, massage therapy, all the prescription drugs you can think of, Back Institute. My family doctor said I was, labeled me at one point clinically depressed. So, and said, you have fibromyalgia. And I kind of study what fibromyalgia is. And it's pretty much a junk term for multiple pain points. And what is the cause? They don't know. Right. So it wasn't until one of the therapists suggested that I go see their chiropractor. And, when they took the x-rays, they explained what was going on. And for, 18 months of suffering, right, in about 3 weeks, I couldn't believe the results. I know everyone always looks at me being the Asian driver, 5 car accidents. But
were you driving in all those?
I was a passenger in 4, rear ender in 4, and the 5th was a side swipe, and I ended up in a ditch. But again, none of them my fault. Clean driving record. Great. Just to make it. I know it's a joke, but every time I tell that story. So I discovered that, and I switched. My father wouldn't speak to me for a long time because, of course, he was bragging to all our family, oh, my son made it to medical school.
So you went from medical school to being a chiropractor?
Yes.
Right?
So I actually graduated from Simon Fraser University, just different prereqs, but essentially with 6 credit hours short of a master's degree. So I went down to LA to do my chiropractic and found out how expensive it was to actually be a student and do your thing with a bunch of student loans. So but my parents didn't have a lot of disposable income, so started working when I was 12, 13, and you start that habit of hustling, right? So I did everything from flipping hockey, baseball, football cards, to picking berries, strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, apples, right? I did it all. I was a dishwasher in 3 restaurants. And a chef in 4, right? And I worked in the restaurant industry pretty much from the age of 13 all the way to, I would say, 25. So my goals and dreams when I worked in that restaurant industry was to own my own restaurant. So I was able to accomplish that goal. And I was partners in a restaurant called Famoso Neapolitan Pizzeria in Edmonton, South Common. Of course, anything that I chose to do, I wanted to be the best at. So I was glad to say out of all the franchises, we were number 1.
I like that one.
Number one.
If you know, you
Just
know.
like your number.
Like, see, I
Exactly.
just can't tell them. They're supposed to know. It's fine. We resolve this.
For sure. But then I realized, I started learning about business and finances because I was terrible with money back in the day. So, of course, your voids create your values. What do you think is missing in your life? And whatever frustrates you, it stresses you out, keeps you up at night. You know what? You always want to find out more information about it. That makes sense. So we realized, wow, the franchisors make more money than the people who put up the money for the restaurant to build out, and they take a cut off of gross revenue versus net profits. So that was interesting to us. But we were able to take the sales from 1.4 million to about 2.4 million in about 5 years' time. And then our operating managers, so we had the chef and the general manager as our partners, and a fellow chiropractor of mine and one of my great friends, the owner of Divine Spine, Dr. Manjeet Gaba. So him and I owned that restaurant together, and our operating partners wanted to sell because they didn't want to work the 60 hours a week anymore. So we supported them, and the kitchen manager, myself and Manjeet, we partnered with Theo Burns of course, O'Burns. It went into overtime to create a new concept, and that evolved into Provincial Kitchen and Bar, which we had a little bit more control over. And the pandemic hit, and we had an offer that my business partners wanted to exit. So that was my restaurant dreams of owning a restaurant and a bar. I was able to accomplish those goals.
Okay, guys, and now we're going to get into the wellness factor of this episode. Ernest, I want to ask you, why do athletes need to see a chiropractor? For those who don't know, some think it's a myth, some think that it's not as valuable. Let's explain to them why it's so important that an athlete should see a chiropractor.
Okay. So I had the pleasure of working with the Canadian Football League here in Edmonton. Now, I'll make it clear that I wasn't treating the Edmonton Eskimos at the time. I was treating the visiting team that came to town.
Yeah, the CFL.
Yeah.
And the visiting team.
Yes, absolutely. So, of course, I would take a portable chiropractic table to the hotel where the players would stay, down to Footfield, down to Commonwealth, and I had a great experience doing that stuff. Now, in a setting where there's athletes, I was a trainer in a high school football team and a semi-pro lacrosse team back in the day. But when I got hired and worked at the CFL, they basically said, hey, we don't need you to tape anyone. We have athletic trainers for that. We have massage therapists to massage. We have physiotherapists. We have orthopedists. So we only want you to do the chiropractic thing. And because I was able to move the big bodies very easily, Gilbert Scholl hired me.
Some big guys out there.
Yeah, for sure. So with that said, there's a great experience. About the biggest thing, me working with professional athletes, and I've worked with Live Nation as well, is just performance. For instance, wide receivers. So I worked with your boy.
Yeah, you can
Yeah,
tell him.
absolutely.
Yes.
But again, if you are trying to catch a football, right, and you can't turn your neck fully, right, and you're trying to catch that, and you can only turn your head 50%,
You can't get.
you're not going to have that visual, right? So chiropractic with 100% certainty will increase your joint range of motion. Now, with that said, any joint, and in the terms of prevention and wellness, any joint that does not have full range of motion will deteriorate. And here's why. Because inside each joint, there is lubrication. For instance, in your knee, you have synovial fluid, you have hyaline fluid. But without that full movement, these things will dry out. Your meniscus, your ligaments, in your spine is actually a series of joints. Your teeth are joints, right? Your fingers are joints. Now, with Nyles, I've treated your fingers.
Oh, yeah.
Why is that? With wide receivers and basketball players, whereas you're trying to catch a football, your fingers are getting bent, right? Also, with you're tussling, right? So again,
I'm tussling and busting with these.
of course, absolutely. So you've probably seen older individuals who have like crooked fingers and big.
Yeah.
right? And that's called osteoarthritis.
Yeah.
So each finger should literally be able to curl like this passively, right? Soon as you can't, right, you'll notice a range of motion. You'll notice it get puffy like yours. Remind me to work on that today.
Okay.
Right. I worked on it in Denver with you, remember?
I remember
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So basically, you see how your fingers should be like this. And any joint that doesn't have it, you'll notice it'll swell and it can't bend all the way. Now, how does that affect your performance? Right? How does it affect your sleep? The pain, right? And if you can't tussle, you don't have the strength. Do you think a joint that has full range of motion and healthy versus one, I see another finger that's crooked?
Yeah, a few of them.
For sure, because you've broken some. You've been, again, look at the bodies that you guys they're going after, and you're a beast, right? You're unrelentless.
Absolutely.
But again, look at your battle scars.
Yeah.
So with football players, especially, right, the impact. So again, we used to do for concussion protocol.
Right.
Range of motion is the key thing, right? Recovery from injury, and the biggest thing here is reaction time. So the studies of reaction time are huge. Do you know why? Because what runs your body?
Your nervous system.
Absolutely. So your brain runs everything. Now, your brain, of course, goes through your foramen magnum
Yep.
to your brainstem down into your spinal cord. And of course, the nerves exit through what your foramen called your intervertebral foramen. And they basically connect to muscles and organs, correct?
Yeah.
Now, what happens if you injure your spinal cord?
Well, it depends on where, but something's going to shut down.
Absolutely. So if you look at like Christopher Reeve's Superman, right? He's one of the ones who were pretty famous for, he fell off a horse and from his neck down, he was paralyzed. Right. So I had the opportunity to work when I was in California at Cal State Northridge, the Center for Paraplegics and Quadriplegics. So I had that experience to actually work with.
How was that experience?
It was amazing, actually, because
learn like what?
The biggest thing you learn is the tonality. So when you touch a patient or client's leg who's paralyzed, it's almost like they get rigor mortis. You know what rigor mortis is?
No, explain that for
So it's basically it's almost like a tonic state where your muscles are always tight.
Ooh, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And the biggest thing, because they can't bend their own legs and limbs.
Right.
If you try as a trainer and as a doctor, you're trying to increase that range, because if not, it deteriorates even further.
Yeah.
Right. So you'll notice that. And then, of course, even with athletes, I've worked with some athletes where they'd have one side of the body, which was injured, and it reduced the nerve supply to, let's say, their limbs.
Wow.
Have you ever followed bodybuilding?
Yes.
Ronnie Coleman, do you know who he is?
Yes, I do.
8-time Mr. Olympia.
Yes.
So if you look at pictures of Ronnie Coleman, he had what we call muscle atrophy.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because his brain couldn't communicate with those muscles. And again, what powers your body, right? Consciously, right? Through thought. Right now, you can tell your arms to flex and show your big 20-inch arms.
Something like that.
Yeah, it looks like it. Right. But unconsciously, your brain right now is communicating with your stomach to digest your lunch that you had.
Literally, like I feel it moving right now.
Right. Absolutely. It's your heart is beating. Right. Your respiratory tract, you're breathing without having to think about it. Correct. And of course, you're digesting food, you're breathing, heart rate's pumping, your circulatory system's going, right? Your immune system's right now eliminating, some toxins and some cells that are like not normal. Right. So there's a lot of processes that happen unconsciously. If that makes any sense.
Yes.
And this is all run by your nervous system. If have you ever gone to the Bodies exhibition?
I have not been.
Okay. If you Google search Bodies exhibition, like the wonderful thing is the Alberta Chiropractic Association, we sponsored the last one to tell us World of Science. But if you Google the image of the nervous system, it's amazing. You'll see a brain, the spinal cord, and the networks of nerves. It looks like really a marionette puppet.
Okay, yeah, I like that too.
Yeah. And that's how your body's run. So we know with 100% certainty, there's energy flowing from above down, inside out. This is why we always say, hey, health comes from within. And we know that, hey, your brain sends the electrical signal down. Of course, if your heart's failing, what do they do? Pump. Right? You feel pain down your left arm. Why? Because the nerves that control the heart are the nerves that run down into this arm from your neck. Also controls your baroreceptors, which controls your heart rate, blood pressure. Your body's completely run by it. Now, of course, you have a Bachelor of Science degree in psychology too, correct? So you understand states of mental well-being. Because, remember the definition of health by the World Health Organization. Can you remember that one?
Nope.
So I'll try to paraphrase it, but it's something like health is not just a state of non-sickness. It's a complete state of physical well-being, mental well-being, chemical well-being, if that makes any sense.
Yes, it does.
And here's why, right? So have you ever had a time in your life where you were stressed out over something?
Of course.
Right? And did you sleep well?
I don't sleep well now, Doc.
Okay, so with that said,
yes, to answer your question, yes.
Yes. Now, with that said, there is two states in your nervous system, something called a sympathetic state, a parasympathetic state. Now, parasympathetic, you probably learned this back in the day, but essentially it's what we call the rest and relaxation state, the healing state. It's when you go to bed at night and your heart rate,
Your HRV.
it basically starts slowing down, but there's the energy, your body's energy is focused and powered towards your organs.
Yeah.
For healing, digestion, rest, recovery. Now, the second state is what we call sympathetic. That is basically a state where you're feeling like you're being attacked.
Yeah. Fight or flight mode.
Fight or flight. Absolutely. So you've learned about this. But your brain is signaling that, hey, I'm being attacked by a bear. So the energy goes towards your muscles and away from your organs. This is why you have trouble sleeping, because if you are feeling that you're being attacked, if you have a lot of pressure on you, and it's not just, nowadays, it's not just, hey, a physical, like something you're scared of.
Right.
It's also, hey, financial stress, relationship stress, health stress, family stress, stress with your social environment, your career, right? There's so many different things, right? Even your spiritual life, right? Have you ever, I love the definition of integrity. Integrity is defined by what do you do versus what you say when no one's looking.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that for a second. It's pretty deep.
It is.
Right? So if you live your life with a lot of shoulds, I should be doing this, I have to do this, I need to do this, versus I would love to do this, I want to do this, I choose to do this. There's two different meanings we find.
Messages getting pushed out.
Absolutely. And of course, when you're in a desperate state, when you're in a stressful state, you will you say those words in your own mind. You'll tend to be breathing different, right? Your heart rate will increase, and it'll send basically your energy, your nerve supply to your muscles to regard. But the brain and your body oftentimes cannot discern between you being in a defensive mode, feeling like you're attacked, physically versus emotionally.
Yeah.
Make sense?
No, yeah, it's like the brain can't tell the difference between really reality. It is a sensory. And so when you're put in a position of stress that is seemingly overwhelming, the body reflects such. That fight or flight mode is innate, and you are in a way killing yourself in a sense. About right?
Absolutely. Now, when you're in that state, have you ever, when you are in a state of sympathetic state, fight or flight, emotionally, physically, and you look in the mirror, if you if I said the words that you say to yourself sometimes,
Yeah.
would you like me?
Words that I say to myself sometimes.
During times of stress, and when you're kind of like,
you
like what,
yeah,
like
talk
sometimes, like,
down on
yeah.
yourself.
So
Speak
have you ever looked in the mirror and
yourself.
like said, Nyles, you're a piece of shit?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I've never said that.
Okay,
I
great.
know how important
I have said that to myself.
words are. Yeah.
Yes, I have. Right. And for myself, I grew up as in a town of less than 5,000 people.
Yeah.
Right. With, you know, I think we were the only Asian family and the only non-white family.
Yeah.
So again, I grew up very obese. I got called every name in the book.
You were obese?
I was about 188 pounds when I was 12.
12? Yeah, I need to see pictures of this. This is
I actually destroyed almost every picture because
that.
because again, there's a huge journey here, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I am not the same person. Are you the same person you were when you were a kid?
In a way, yes. The fire in me never died or never got extinguished. And also, even as far as like me wanting to be this, like I've always pushed for this. And I think that for myself and my journey, I've always had the understanding of power in the tongue, mindset, and the ability to manifest. I've always known these things. My father would teach it to me since I could really read, and Dad, I really appreciate all of that. It really helped me out as I got older. And so with that though, being said, back to your point, me as a child wanted to play football, wanted to be something or somebody or a leader. And these are things that I held on to with my dear life. Like I've been in situations where rent's due, this is due, cars broken down. And that's when I would go back and I wouldn't let my mind revert to that negativity. I would be in that stress bubble, right? That dark cloud. And I would give it my all just to find a silver lining. And as you said, with the faith aspect or spiritual aspect, that is a real thing because it is so much deeper than just this outside world that we see. The inner always controls, as you said, the outer. All right, guys, that's the end of our episode here. We will segue you guys in for our next episode coming up soon.